Shalom Aleichem, Assalamu Alaikum. Recently, not really recently, but on one of the comments to one of the summary videos, I believe it was the Book of Esther Summary video, there was a question as to why Mordecai was named after the Babylonian deity Marduk. And I wanted to answer that question because we see this trend throughout the scriptures where we have biblical characters who are named after foreign deities, beginning with Moses. He's one of the most prominent figures in the Bible. Now, the name Moses was a title. In Hebrew, we know it's Moshe, which, when you translate that into English, is closer to M-O-S-E, Mose, not Moses. And the suffix Mose, M-O-S-E, or Moses in Greek, it derives from the Egyptian verb ms, which means to give birth or to be born, not to be confused with multiple sclerosis. This is an Egyptian verb. And there are multiple pharaohs with the M-O-S-E suffix. There's Tutmos, and there were 3 of them. Amos, 1. Ramses, 1 to 5. So that's, how many is that so far? That's 9. And then you have Kamos. So Ramses is not M-O-S-E, it is M-E-S-E-S. But this is simply a variant of M-O-S-E. Both come from the M-S suffix, the verb M-S. So the modern equivalent of naming somebody Mose or Moses would be like naming somebody Prince or King or Emperor, etc. His true Hebrew name, however, could be 10 names. According to tradition, Jewish tradition, his name, Moses' actual Hebrew name could be Yered, Chever, Yekusiel or Yekutiel, Avigdor, Avisoko, Avizonayak, Tuvia, Shemaiah, Ben Nesanel, or Hasofer, or all of them, depending on who is the one addressing Moses. According to the Jewish tradition, it was his mother who named him Yekutiel or Yekusiel. Then we have Joseph, who was renamed by an Egyptian name. We know that as Zaphnath Paneah, and I'm going to show you what it looks like on my screen. So if you see my screen here, it says Joseph Zaphnath Paneah, and then we see it in the Greek. It reads here, Son Thum Phanech, interpreted as the man who knows the things in hieroglyphs. So what does that mean? It could mean the man who knows many things. Could be the supernatural things, but he knows, he's the man to go to when you need to know things that no one else can know. And then we have the 3 friends of Daniel, Mishael, Meshach, which means who is like the Babylonian deity named Aku, Hananiah, who is renamed Shadrach, which means command of Aku, and then we have Azariah, who is renamed Abednego, which means servant of Nebo. And then we have Daniel, renamed as Belteshazzar, Bel, which means Lord in Akkadian, and Bel is a title adopted by Marduk. It means Bel protects the king. So Belteshazzar, Bel protects the king. Now finally we get to Esther, who in Hebrew her name is Hadassah, but Esther comes from the Babylonian goddess Ishtar. Now we get to Mordecai. So I'm going to read the following answer provided from Reddit, and it reads as follows: the name Mordecai is of uncertain origin, but it is considered identical to the name Marduka or Marduku, which is Akkadian. It is attested as the name of officials in the Persian court in 30 texts, the Persepolis Administrative Archives. from the period of Xerxes I and his father Darius, and may refer to up to 4 individuals, one of which might have served as the prototype for the biblical Mordecai. So the Talmud relates that his full name was Mordecai Bilshan, which occurs in Ezra 2 verse 2 and Nehemiah 7 verse 7. Hoskander interpreted this as the Babylonian Marduk Belshunu, meaning Marduk is their lord, Mordecai being thus a hypochorism. I have to look that word up. Another interpretation of the name is that it is of Persian origin, meaning little boy. Other suggested meanings of contrition, Hebrew root MRD, bitter, Hebrew root MR, or bruising, Hebrew root RDD. They're listed in Hitchcock's Bible Names Dictionary of the late 19th century. There is also speculation that the name is derived from Aramaic Mardoki, Mar being a title address for a gentleman, and Doki meaning one who incurs merit. The Talmud provides a midrashic interpretation of the name Mordecai Bilshan as Mara Dachia, which means pure myrrh, Myrrh, alluding to Exodus 30, verse 23, and Baal Lashon, master of languages, reminding us that as a member of the Great Assembly, he was familiar with many foreign languages. So that is fascinating. Personally, I believe it's the most straightforward answer, which ties in with all the previous names we mentioned, that he was named after the deity of that the ruling power, which was again Babylon. So it would be Marduk. He was named after Marduk. It's just to be blunt. So now I'm going to provide the Hebrew side of the name. What is his actual Hebrew name? Potentially. So based on the Septuagint and traditional Jewish sources, Mordecai's primary name in the book of Esther is transliterated as Mardocheos in the Greek. So the Septuagint does not explicitly provide a separate alternative Hebrew name for Mordecai in the same way that we have Esther's Hebrew name, Hadassah. However, traditional literature and the Talmud, which are often connected with interpretations of the Septuagint and the Esther narrative, offer the following name: Petachyah. Let me try that again. Petachyah. According to the Talmud, Megillah 15a, and later Jewish commentary, this Petachyah was Mordecai's original Hebrew name. He was called this name because he opened matters and understood them, but he was known by the Babylonian name Mordecai. So let me just read the last one. Meaning in Persian, the name itself is considered to be Babylonian or Persian origin, derived from the god Marduk. Okay, well, we read that already. So how do we spell the name Petachyah? Let me type it for you. Okay, so how we spell this name is Petachyah. So we have the name, the holy name there, the abbreviated form, YHWH. So we have Petachyah, or Petachyahu, or Petachyah, if we have that name in the Bible. I'm not sure. I don't think that exists. So that is the name, and I'm going to get into the reason why they renamed them. Okay, so I'm going to answer the question, why would they rename these Hebrew Israelite peoples into different foreign deities based on their foreign deities. So this was done, renaming of biblical people such as Moses, Joseph, etc., was primarily a tool for forced assimilation and cultural erasure during periods of captivity. I think it's pretty straightforward. I don't have to really explain that, but they did replace names that contained the name of the Hebrew Elohim and replaced it with the names of their foreign deities. I think their hope was to make these individuals forget their homeland and their religious traditions. And this was an exercise of power to signal to these individuals that they were now the property and subjects of this foreign government or foreign king. It was also a way for them to conform to the culture they were living in, and that they would be more accepted and acceptable within their jurisdiction or the government, whatever they were part of. And the modern parallel to this that we see in our modern day, or more recent times anyway, we see in the late 20th century, we have governments that force name changes to individuals in order to strip minority groups of their identity. So in the late 20th century, for example, the Bulgarian government forced the Turkish minority to adopt Slavic names. Why? To integrate them into the state, which is very close to what happened in Daniel and his three friends' situation. So I hope that answers that question. Why was Mordecai named after Marduk? Thanks for the question. I appreciate that. And I hope you found this video helpful. Until next time, Shalom Aleichem, Assalamu Alaikum, Irini Mazisu, Pax Vobiscum, peace be unto you, and Maranatha.